Well, lads, welcome back to On The Case with me, Kasey Campion. This is your backstage pass to my crazy, unpredictable life. Get ready for my chaotic story times, unfiltered opinions, and of course, a lot of ranting and oversharing. Every week, I'll be deep diving into different topics, and I can't wait to bring you all along with me. So with that, it's time to get on the case. So this week's case is going to be all about school, because I'm sure a lot of you have seen there's a trend after coming up on TikTok in the last few days of like your younger self and comparing your younger self to now. And I feel like when I was in school, obviously none of you knew me unless you're like my friends or family, and I was very different. I feel like I was a person that I wouldn't be a fan of now. So I can't be thinking of like my relationships in school, whether that was friends, with teachers, whether it was crushes. So that's the subject I'm going to deep dive into today. But before we get into that, we're going to go into our Keeping Up with Kase segment, which is basically where I fill you in on my week, what was happening, and mad. Right, I'm just going to show you how I do my slick back, because you're literally,
are you not supposed to be recording your podcast?
Mom, have you seen my keys? There they are. Oh my god, I'm after breaking a nail. Oh my god. It's a joke. I'm hitting every single red light. Hi, nice to meet you. Oh yeah, baby. Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm literally in the car park now. Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Right, lads, let's go record this podcast. Oh my god, how do I even do this again? Okay. Right, lads, let's get this podcast recorded. Wait, I need to get changed. So this week, it was a bit of a quiet week for me. You know, I actually stayed in again at the weekend. I don't know, I think I'm a changed person, but I was doing a good bit of running this week. So now I'm not a fitness queen. I just run because it clears my head and it's good for you, and you know, it gets me good content for my running vlogs. I know a lot of you might be aware that I was the target of the 5k running scandal that happened a couple of months ago, but no, I do actually run for enjoyment. But this week I was told that a family friend is suffering with cancer, so I was like, you know what, he's doing a GoFundMe, why not use my platform for something good? And I go on runs anyway, so why not use my 10k as a fundraiser? So me and my brother Jody decided we'd do 10k and talk about basically what was going on and try raise funds. So we have to raise €211, and I think it's over halfway there already. So of course there will be a lot more running vlogs to come. I am actually preparing for a holiday, and I'm kind of half thinking of doing the half marathon. Don't tell anybody in case I back out of that, so keep an eye on my Instagram and my TikTok for that. And if you want to see the one that I'm talking about with the fundraiser, that's also posted right now. So last week I mentioned that I've been nominated for a Gossy, which for me is just huge. I still can't believe it. Every single time I get a text or a DM or people telling me they're voting for me, I still can't get over it. Like, I wanted to be invited as a guest this year, let alone a nominee. We actually have a family group chat, which in fairness, they are really supporting me every day. They're sending in reminders, vote for Kasey. They're sending in the link. They're like setting alarms, which I didn't think they would be this supportive. So I'm really happy for that. And of course, I've told them if I win, well, when I win, we're manifesting, I will mention them in my speech. Okay, I'm being very positive here, but it's my podcast. I have to hype myself up. But anyway, the stress with the Gossies is the outfit. It's literally in a week and a half, and I had no idea what I was going to wear. I don't just have things lying around in my wardrobe that I can wear to an award ceremony. So the theme is Great Gatsby, and I'm not going to lie, I've never watched it. I've never read it. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that it's set in the 1920s. So I got my granny on the case, and she was looking up like YouTube videos. She was looking up styling tips. She was on Amazon. She's 85 and she was on Shein, looking at pearls and looking at feathers. So she's on the case helping me find a dress. So today I went to Happy Days Rental. It's a dress rental place, and I actually got a dress from there before. And I was like, look, I have a week and a half. I know loads of people are going to be coming to you for the Gossies. Can you help me find a dress? And it was a bit less stressful because they just took the theme and ran with it. They put like 20 dresses for me in the dressing room and let me try everything on, because as we all know, or you might know, I am very indecisive, but I'm also a control freak. So it was weird letting someone else pick the options for me, but it made it easier narrowing things down. So when I first seen her putting dresses into the change room, there was like feathers, there was sequins, there was a lot going on, a couple of colours that I wouldn't usually wear, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go with it, try a couple of things on. I'm also not great at putting on clothes on my own. I usually need assistance from my mom or my sister. So trying to get dresses over my head, couldn't breathe. Some of them didn't fit. Couldn't find the zip on some of them. It was a whole ordeal. But I ended up trying on, I want to say about 25 dresses and narrowed it down to 2. So the girl in the shop, Katie, actually gave me really good advice. She said that people don't really follow the theme as much as you think. And she was like, this is your first Gossies. It's your first nomination. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to show up like you're going to a costume party. So I was like, right. She was like, you don't have to go all out. Feathers, pearls, things that you'd usually assume you'd wear for a Great Gatsby theme. So the two that I narrowed it down to, one was green, which I suppose does go well with my hair, but it was a different kind of green than I'd usually wear. And it had feathers. And then the second one, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it was because it is the one that I ended up going with. So when I narrowed it down to two, I rang my mom because she is like really good with fashion and really good with clothes. I don't want her to know that I'm saying this because she'll be like, I told you so. But I rang her and straight away she said, yeah, the one you've on you is the one, even though I had no makeup, no tan. You know yourself, when you try something on for the first time, if you like it initially, surely with makeup, tan, hair, the whole lot, it's gonna be good. So we have found a dress, thank God. So that's one stress off the shoulders. But next up is finding obviously shoes, a bag, a jacket, but I feel like that'll just come. Obviously, this is my first time being invited to an awards like this. It's my first time being nominated for an award like this. So I didn't know what goes on, but I feel like you don't know either, and a lot of people that go to these things don't talk about it. So you know me, I'm going to deep dive and go into exactly what happens. So the week of the awards, we've been offered a facial, which I've never gotten a facial before. I know, I feel like everyone gets facials, but it's just something I've never gotten. I don't know. So we're getting a facial. Then the Friday before the awards, we're getting a spray tan. Now, kind of nervous about the spray tan. My mom was like, what if it's not dark enough? Obviously, I'm very pale, and my dress, I'll give you a sneak little hint, it's not a dark colour, so my tan will need to be really nice, but I'm getting the spray tan, we're going with it. So that's before the awards even starts. Then we got a little itinerary sent to us today, okay? Have it here on my phone. If you're watching on YouTube, that is what I'm looking at. So the day of the awards, there's a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. slot, basically, where you can get, okay, you're not even ready for this, skin prep done, makeup done, hair done, hand massages done, nails done, and last but not least, tarot card readings. Now, come on. I'm actually most excited for the tarot card readings because I feel like my life is a bit chaotic right now, and I need an outside perspective. I need someone else to tell me what decisions to make. So yeah, I am a bit nervous because I don't really get my makeup done. For those of you who don't know, my mom actually is a makeup artist and has been for over 20 years. So like probably one of the most experienced in Ireland, and I don't even let her do my makeup. So it's going to be scary getting it done, but I just feel like I might as well embrace it. It's an awards, get all this stuff done, but now it's the panic of like, what time, do you know? So I've decided to treat myself. I've got a little hotel across the road because there's no point in getting all this stuff done and then going the whole way back to Meath, whole way back to Dublin. The events is on in the RDS. So look, I'm going to go with all this. I hope I look nice, but I said it last week and I will say it again, no shame. You can vote every 24 hours. I do have the links literally all over my social media. So if you would like to vote for me for Newcomer of the Year, I promise I will give a shout out in my acceptance speech when I win. But yes, the links are on my socials. So speaking of wanting and needing outside opinions on my life, I made the very brave decision today to go back to therapy. Now, I haven't been to therapy in about 3 years. I was going at the start of 2022 because I was a lost cause, to be honest. And I actually went to a man, which I feel like a lot of girls would want to go to a female therapist, but I don't know. I just thought like going to a female, it might feel like it's your friend or your cousin, but going to a man, it just gives you like a complete other perspective, and it also gives you an outside perspective of your life because a lot of your friends will be biased, you know, when it comes to things that are wrong. So I texted him today, so I've got the ball rolling. I did say at the start of the year that I was going to like try and focus on my mental health this year, but then I kind of pushed it to the side. But this week I'm a mess, and if you follow me on social media, you will see that I'm up and down. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes and, you know, breaking the stigma around it because I feel like everyone needs therapy. Not just if you have something seriously wrong, just if you want someone to talk to. So I'm excited to see how that goes. So that is my recap for this week. Make sure you stay tuned to see what I get up to next week. But now it's time to get on the case. So this week's case, as I said, is school. What I was like in school, what my friends were like in school, what my relationships were like in school. And like, I don't know why I'm semi-afraid to talk about this because I'm literally talking about myself. But as I mentioned before, not that I wasn't a nice person. I was a nice person, but I'd use the word obnoxious, okay? I was an attention seeker. You might say that I still am an attention seeker. I'm sure my friends and family will, but this was in a bad way. Any attention, I just craved it. And especially, hate to say it, from men, or boys, should I say, because I was in school. At the time, everything I did was just to get attention. I don't know why, but that was just the case. So in primary school, I was, you know, again, hate to say these things, in the like popular group. So going into secondary school, I was terrified. what if I'm not in the popular group anymore? You know, going into secondary school, you're like a small fish going into a big pond, and like you kind of knew of other people that were going to be in your year, because back when I was going into secondary school, Instagram was like just kicking off, Snapchat was kicking off, we had a thing called Viber, not sure if you're familiar, but there was group chats, so you knew who was going to be in your year. And at the time I was very self-conscious, I wasn't confident at all, and in my opinion, I wasn't like, you know, that pretty, or I wasn't like going to be anyway comparable to these girls that I'd seen on Instagram that were going to be in my year. So anyway, started first year, and I don't know like why I was doubting all these things. I did end up making loads of friends, and I was in the so-called popular group. Hate saying it, but again, I was still really self-conscious, and I didn't feel like I was as pretty or as good looking or, you know, desirable to boys as these other girls in my year, which shouldn't have been the case. But look, I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt like this when I was that age or feels like this now. I don't know why it's kind of weird like talking about it, because I'm like afraid these are all going to think I'm crazy. But no, I feel like it is a really natural thing to have these feelings in secondary school. So if you are feeling like this, just know that you are normal. So I had multiple friend groups when I was in school. And again, I feel like if anyone from my school is listening to this, they're going to be like, I don't know, it's going to be weird. I actually don't really talk to many people I was in school with. And to be honest, I don't really blame them. So I had quite a medium-sized friend group, I'd say, from first to third year. But like when I tell you, there was always fights, there was always group chats being made, like sorting things out, there was always being called into the principal's office, there was always like group chats, screenshots, drama. There was so much when I was in school. There was something different every week, and I somehow always found myself in the middle of it. One of the first big dramas I remember from secondary school, I'd literally just started in first year, so I was 12, and my birthday was in October. So obviously we started school in September, birthday was in October. I had all these new friends, so I wanted to invite everyone over to my house for my 13th birthday. But obviously, like, so my mom and dad, well, more so my mom, were very particular about my friends and very judgmental, and my mom knew instantly if she liked a friend or if she didn't, and she's still the same to this day. So I was inviting over these people that like they didn't know, so they weren't really sure how it was going to go. So we all stayed in the playroom at the time, and my dad set up mattresses for us, we had popcorn, we had movies, you know, the usual stuff that girls do. And in the middle of the night we decided to draw mustaches on the people who were asleep, thinking it was like a funny joke, like a prank. You know, we're 12, like what could possibly go wrong? But 5 o'clock in the morning, one of the girls didn't find this funny at all. So she rang her mom to come collect her, which at the time was like the most dramatic thing ever. Like, you're having this big sleepover. And at that age as well, it's kind of like, it's hard to be allowed to stay in people's houses, especially if you don't really know them or know their parents. So her mom came and collected her that night at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we didn't know what was going to go down when we went back into school on the Monday. So we go back into school on the Monday, and it's a whole ordeal. Our year head's involved, our principal's involved. We're called into all these meetings, and we couldn't figure out how drawing mustaches on someone's face had now led to this big, huge ordeal. So inevitably at 13, that was the worst thing that could ever happen. So we did end up falling out. So if you think I like going out now, you should have seen me in secondary school. I was literally at every single disco, and back then it was such a huge thing as to what you were going to wear. And this kind of also brought out fights in girls, because first of all, you couldn't wear the same thing that anyone else was wearing. You couldn't wear the same colour. You couldn't wear the same pattern. I feel like back when I was in like second, third year, like the horrendous like Aztec patterns and like the cheapest material clothes you could possibly find is what we were all wearing. But like, we had no shame back then. You would text someone you didn't even know, someone that was like 5 years older than you in school, hey, can I borrow that skirt you wore to your cousin's confirmation last week? And just expect them to say yes. And it was always the case of like, oh yeah, like you can borrow it, but like it was really, really big on me. And then like when I'd get it and I'd try it on, it'd be like bet to me, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like it looks grand. But yeah, teenage discos were a huge thing. And like there was no pre-drinks back then because we were like 14, but the whose house you were going to get ready in, that was the most exciting part of the night. I remember there was one girl's house we always got ready in, and we loved getting ready there because her mom would spoil us. She'd always have like pizzas, she'd have sweets, she'd always drop us and collect us to and from the events. But it's so funny, I'm so the same now as I was back then. We were photo obsessed. Every single disco, you had to get a new profile picture. But the only difference with back then that there is now, we would post the photo in the car on the way to the disco, and we would be refreshing and checking the likes. So like, that is so toxic. I really hope it's not the same now. I feel like it isn't, because Facebook isn't really a thing now, but back then Facebook profile pictures were huge. And I remember there was this one dress. Okay, if you were in TY around the same time as me, it would have been about 2016. There was this one dress that everybody had. It was the one dress that you were allowed wear and like copy other people. It was from Boohoo. It was like a nudie beige mauve kind of colour. I have no idea why it was so popular because it actually washed everybody out. And I got it for our junior cert results night, which happened obviously in TY. And I remember I was like, this is going to be the profile picture. Like, this is going to be the one. I posted it and I hit 1K likes. And back then, this was like the best thing ever. Everyone was calling me 1K Kasey. I was delighted with life. It actually couldn't have been better. Looking back now, it's actually kind of sad, but that's what our world revolved around. I really hope some of you remember that and I'm not going crazy. And also, if you're in school now, I really hope that's not the case for you. So speaking of fashion in school and always having to look my best, it didn't end just at the discos. I always wanted to look my best in PE. I really feel like I'm outing myself, and I feel like people from school are going to watch this and be like, oh my God, she really was like that all along. But this is quite literally like 8 years ago. So I was skits about what I was going to wear in for PE. I would pack my bag the night before. I'd be going through all my best Hollister, Abercrombie. Like back then, these were like the popular clothes. Gymshark also came out at the time. And I would always want to look my best. I'd always bring in my best perfume just to impress, like, I hate saying it, but the boys. I don't know why I was so obsessed. I also played GAA in school. Now look, it doesn't come as a shock to anyone. I was really bad at football, okay? I just did it for the social aspect. I played football with my local club, but I also played it in school. But for some reason in school, I was a bit better than I would have been with the club. So, you know, I loved it. I loved getting out of class, going to the matches. I love walking back in, you know, after you had a game in your football shorts and coming in late to after school study. That was always great. But I was really competitive. Even though I was bad at sports, I was really, really competitive. Like if we had to do the beep test, or we did a thing called the mile run, where they literally made us run around the pitch like 18 times. And I had to be like in the top 5 for that. And if I wasn't, day was ruined. But when you look back, it was actually kind of a bit unhygienic and a bit gross, because we'd always play football matches and do these runs and do PE like at the start of the day or midday, and then have to go back into class and put on our old clothes and probably smell. So here's me thinking I was great rocking into class in my, like, you know, Hollister leggings and my new spray, but I probably actually just stunk. So if you were in my school or my class, you can probably remember that one. Okay, I know I've mentioned about 5 million times that I was boy obsessed, but this one particular story sticks out to me, and I feel like I just have to tell yous. And I also feel like I'm outing myself, and I really hope he's not listening. I'm sure he's not. But there was one boy, okay, who I actually had on my radar before I went into secondary school. And back in the day, if you don't remember, you used to be able to see people's Snapchat best friends. So you could see the usernames of who these people were talking to. And any girls that were in this boy's best friends, I would add them and ask how they knew him. Did I have any right to do this? No. Was I with him? No. Did he even know I existed? No, but I would still do this. And fun fact, my friend Erin, if you're listening, I literally added this girl called Erin from his best friends list. Didn't know who she was. Turns out she was from Leash. And to this day, we're still friends. And she's actually really supportive, and I have to give her a shout out on the podcast, because we're literally still friends because of this random boy who I no longer even speak to or even know. So yes, I was aware he was going to be in my school. So when I started first year, I was so excited. And as I said, I was really unconfident. In my opinion, I wasn't, you know, attractive or good looking at the time. I was 12. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't expect to be on his radar, and sure enough, I wasn't. But like when I say this was a deep rooted, unhealthy obsession, any girl that looked in his direction, any girl he'd kiss at a disco, I would fall out with them instantly. Did they know about it? No. Did they care? No. This is just what I did, and it was so bad to the point where I would go to all his matches. I actually can't believe I'm talking about this. I'd go to all his matches. I'd like be standing beside like people that are in his family, like at his games, as if I can't believe I'm even saying all this, as if I was like with him when I wasn't. So then as the years went on and more, you know, technology developed, snap maps came out. And this was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to this boy, because I would follow him. Yes, I would follow him. So he lived like a bit outside my town. So I live in a town and he lived like in the countryside, and I knew like the exact coordinates of this boy's house. So if his maps were even like 5 centimeters off, I was like, where is he? Where is he? And there was a girl I was friends with in school, and God love her, I used to drag her around. If I seen he was in our local Super Value, if I seen he was in our local Chipper, I was going there, and I was just going to show up and coincidentally bump into him. And to be fair, like as the years went on, he did give me the time of day, but I still don't think he wanted anything got to do with me. And everyone knew about my obsession, so everyone slagged me about it, which didn't really make matters any better. But the worst thing I ever did, you think I'd have a bit of sense? I was in TY, okay? And at the time, I got a bit of an inkling that he may semi have been interested in me, because one of the lads in my year was like, oh, you know, I'm going to have to give him a fake name. What name will I give him? I don't know, I need something really rogue. I know the names I come up with are always a bit mad, like The Road. Let's just call him Sean, okay? Really generic. One of the lads in my year was like, Sean actually said you've had a bit of a glow up. And I was like, oh my God, this is great news. I'm 16. I'm finally semi-decent looking. Like, this is the validation that I was after back then. Like, it's ridiculous. So that really like made me more confident. And I knew that a disco was coming up that he was going to be at. So I was delighted. But what did I decide to do with this news? I decided I was going to attempt to log in to his Snapchat. Yeah. So I obviously knew his username and I knew the football team that he played for. So I started trying all these different combinations of passwords to his Snapchat account to see what other girls he was talking to and what other girls were going to be my competition for this upcoming disco. So no, you think that's the worst of it? Doesn't end there. This man gets an email to say there is an unrecognized device trying to log into your Snapchat account, but it tells you what kind of phone it was. And at the time, I was quite spoiled growing up. Not like really spoiled, but I always had the latest iPhone. So there was only 2 people in my full year that had the brand new iPhone. At the time, it was the iPhone 8 Plus. It was a pink one. It was gorgeous. It was stunning. And he got a notification to say that an iPhone 8 Plus in the area was trying to log into his Snapchat. Yeah, and that narrowed it down to 2 people. The other girl, everyone knew it wasn't her. So yeah, it was me. And it was never explicitly said that it was me. So if you didn't find that out, you're now finding it out here live on the podcast. I'm sure you're listening. But anyway, that disco did end up coming up, and I'm not going to get into the details, okay? But you know, I ended up after my 5-year obsession securing what I wanted to secure. But then, you know what? After that, guys, I feel like I'm really sharing the details and I'm pretending I'm not talking to like whoever's listening. But after that, he kind of wanted to keep me a secret, which is so, looking back now, it's so bad. But I was just so delighted that after 5 years, this fella was finally giving me the time of day. So we used to meet up at the local GA pitch. I had to hop a fence to get in there and we'd meet up behind the changing room. That's how much this man wanted to hide me. Like, can you imagine what that did to my confidence? I was like, okay, one, I'm finally succeeding here. Like, I'm kissing this boy. I hate even saying those words out loud. But he wanted to hide me from everybody. So that wasn't great. So how did that love story end? Wasn't a love story. Never ended up together. I actually wanted everyone to know, shock horror, because I just felt, you know, I was like, why is he's having his cake and eating it right now? So I'm going to tell one of his friends so that it gets out and so it spreads around. And do you know what it was? When we used to Snapchat, okay? Oh my God, I actually left out a part of the story that I have to tell you. I used to be in bed, okay, 11 o'clock at night. This man would have me delivered for like 6 hours. He would reply, I would get out of bed, do my makeup, 11 o'clock at night, to send him one snap and he would fall asleep. And you know what our form of flirting was? He'd send me bitmojis. Like, quite literally a blank screen and a bitmoji. And if the bitmoji had like love heart eyes, I was like, okay, great. He likes me today. And if the bitmoji was boring, he didn't like me that day. It was actually scandalous. But yeah, safe to say, we didn't end up together. I do see him around now. The obsession has wore off. And if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry that I basically stalked you for 5 years. So I feel like all these stories about school have been pretty chaotic. And you're probably like, how did she even get through school? But no, I actually was like well behaved. Like, I did get on really well with the teachers. I was kind of a teacher's pet. From 1st to 3rd year, I was very like loud, obnoxious, got kicked out of the class, but I still got all my work done and still got really good grades. I remember my geography teacher used to just like want to kill me because I was really loud. He'd always kick me out, but then I'd always get A's in all the exams. So he was like, how is she pulling off these grades, but also never in the class because she's always kicked out? But I was like quite studious, if you want to say that. I'd study for like 15 hours at the weekend, but like not effectively. I feel like I'd like learn one essay for like 12 hours and think I was great. But yeah, I did get on really well with the teachers. So I really wanted to go for head girl when I was in 6th year. And this was a huge thing because everyone wants to be head girl, you know. But as I said, I wasn't like, not that I wasn't the nicest person, but I did cause a lot of drama. I was involved in a lot of drama. I was always fighting with people on and off, falling out with friends. So I wasn't really sure if the votes would be on my side. But I was kind of friends with people in like, you know, the quieter groups in our year. I did get on with everyone kind of, not really, but yeah, so the vote for head girl was done. I think the teachers had a say in it, but then the overall vote was the students. But I was in Disneyland at the time when the announcement was coming out, so I missed the assembly, which I was raging about. Speaking about love and attention, I used to sing. I don't know if people notice about me. I don't want to say I can sing. I'm average. Like, I'm not going on the X Factor, but I'm also not useless. So I used to sing at all the awards and all the big events in the school. I'd do the national anthem, and it was like my thing. And at first I made it out like, oh, like I don't really care, like, you know, but I ate that up. Like, I loved doing the national anthem. And my Irish teacher, Mr. Mulvihill, shout out to him, he used to always say I was going to be the next Beyonce. So, you know, we're still waiting on that day to come. But yeah, I was raging I missed the awards. But yeah, I got the text to tell me that I didn't get picked for head girl, which I'm not going to say I was devastated about, but luckily none of the girls that I would have seen as like my huge competition got it, so it wasn't that bad. I did end up getting picked to be music prefect, which worked out in my favour because obviously I did music in school. I sang for the Leaving Cert, I had to sing 6 songs, so yeah, it wasn't a total loss, but yeah, never got to live out my fantasy of being head girl. So that is how school was for me. I'm not sure if you would have expected that kind of person from me, but at least it shows that if there's someone in your year that's like this now, they will change, I promise. I'm so accountable for the stuff I used to do. I'm making it out like I was really bad. I wasn't like a bully. I just was, I don't know, craved attention, craved drama. Love being involved in all the group chats and all the screenshots and all the fighting going on and the boy drama. But I want to know, is it still like that now? Is it still the whole, like, the discos were the biggest things, like all the like fights leading up to the big events after a night out? It was like everyone talking about it on the Monday of who done what and who got with who. Is it still the same now? Do let me know. You can let me know on the Kase Pod on both TikTok and Instagram. I'm looking forward to reading all your DMs. And one last thing I really want to know if it's still a thing is the whole yearbook quote situation. This is the most scandalous thing that I've ever done. And I have never put it on social media because I'm 1, embarrassed, and 2, ashamed, and 3, surprised the school actually let me do this. So we had a committee that was organising our yearbook, and they sent us out an email like the week before school ended being like, hey, like, can you send us on your yearbook quote? You don't have to have one, but it'd be nice to have one just to finish off your 6 years in the school. Do you want to know what my quote was? It is so off-brand for me. It is so not something I would ever say now. And please don't judge me. And please continue to watch my podcast after this because you're going to change your opinions on me, okay? So my yearbook quote was, the girls might hate me, but at least their boyfriends don't. X. I emailed that in to a school email with confidence, with chest. And I was expecting them to reply and be like, you cannot use that. Like, this is going out to parents, grandparents. This is going to be hung on the wall of the school. No, they let me use it. I don't know what came over me, but yeah, me and the girls in my year, I'm not going to lie, we didn't see eye to eye. And I'm sure if they're watching this, they're like, we really hated that girl. But no, when I left school, I did unfollow most people. I'm making it out like I didn't get on with anyone. I did have a great group of friends and we did have such a laugh. Our little lunchtime table was great crack. And to be fair, I do actually miss it to this day. Like, we did really have a laugh. The people that I did get on with, but the people I didn't, yeah. Will I give a public apology right now? Probably not. No, I'm not gonna, because I was very different back then. I don't regret anything, but that yearbook quote is a huge regret from me. So I do want to know from you people, is yearbook quote still a thing? Are they that scandalous? Was mine ridiculous? Do let me know on the Kase Pod on both TikTok and Instagram. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're also going to do our best case scenario segment where I give you my best case scenario for your dilemmas. Welcome back to On the Kase. We're going to move on to our best case scenario segment where I give my best case scenario for your dilemmas. Okay, so the first dilemma I've been sent in is actually a voice note. Of course, it's still going to be anonymous. My producer Viv has got these for me, so I haven't actually listened. So we're going to play this, get my raw reaction, and I will give you my best case scenario.
Awkward dilemmas is that I went to like a family reunion / like 60th, and I went with my parents, and the rest of my siblings couldn't make this like family reunion. But I went with my parents, and it was really good fun. Like, I met all of their family and like my extended cousins or whatever. And then one of the guys that I met there on that night added me on Instagram, and I kind of got like flirty vibes, but I thought, you know what, like, he knows we're cousins, like, surely I'm adopted, so I don't look like my parents, but like, obviously I wouldn't be at a family reunion if like I wasn't related to anybody. So I was like, oh, like, that's just like, you know, you're overthinking it, he's just trying to be nice. Well, anyways, a week passed and I posted like a photo of me going on a night out, and he texted me saying that I looked really good and if I was free to get a drink. To which I had to literally reply with, I am your cousin. And he replied with, surely not. Ha 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 ha. Wait, really though? So no drinks. So that was probably a really awkward situation because I obviously am related to him, like he's my cousin.
There are so many things wrong with this. I did not know where this was going to go. Like, okay, this is really bad that my first instinct was, okay, if you're adopted, technically, is it okay? Okay, that's like, don't cancel me for that, but like technically, legally, that's probably okay, but also very weird because I don't know if he knows you're adopted. So to his knowledge, you're his cousin. And as you said, at a family reunion, the word family reunion should be ringing alarm bells. Surely he knew you weren't just a tag-along friend. Like, would you bring someone to your family reunion? But then again, I kind of get where he's coming from because, now, I'm not saying I fancy any of my cousins, but I have been at family reunions before where I've seen people looking at me and I'm like, is that because they don't know we're related, or because a lot of family reunions are in pubs. Do you know what I mean? So he might have thought you were just an innocent bystander who arrived into this function. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, going forward, I don't know where you're supposed to go from this. Like, do you want to tell your parents? Like, do you need, like, I feel like just avoid all contact. Maybe unfollow him because that is very freaky. The fact that he, when you told him you were cousins, said, oh, so no drinks? Was that not a given? I feel like maybe he could have like rectified the situation by being like, okay, so sorry. Not going to say you look good anymore, but do you want to go for drinks as family? No, that's a goner. Unfollow. Tell your parents that he's a bit odd and avoid all family gatherings into the near future, please. So for my second dilemma, my producer Viv is going to read it out to me because, again, I want to get my raw reaction. And if you're wondering who I'm looking at, she's right across from me right now. So Viv, hit me.
Okay, here we go. Oh God. I'm with my boyfriend nearly a year. We are in love. I've been accepted onto a master's programme in Europe. I'm contemplating turning down the programme as I'm too afraid of long distance. What should I do?
Okay, so you're not going to make the same mistake I made. Well, I don't want to call it a mistake because everything in life, there ends up being a reason for it. So I obviously had a boyfriend for 3 years. Well, I don't know if that's obvious, but if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know. And I had the option to do an Erasmus for college and I didn't do it. No, I don't want to say because of him, but like, it just wasn't even an option. In my head, I was like, I've got a boyfriend, I can't go away. That's just ridiculous. First of all, you're not even together a full year. I know in like relationship terms, like a year is actually quite long, even a couple of months is long. But I just think if you really love someone, it will work. Do long distance. First of all, Europe isn't even that far away. It'll give you both time to focus on your studies, and I'm not sure if he's in college, maybe he is, but it'll be like a good little break apart, and then you can look forward to seeing each other, whether it's on the midterms, the weekends, and like, I don't know, occasions. But I just think not to like put a dampener on the relationship, but you never know if something's going to last forever. And imagine if you didn't do it and you look back and end up regretting it, because I don't regret not doing mine because it gave me a year ahead in life. I was a year ahead for everything, but I would have liked to do it and I would have liked to have experienced it. And I look at all my friends that done it and I see it all over social media. Like, when you're young and you don't have that much responsibility and you have the chance to travel, I really would recommend. But obviously you're going to have to set like boundaries, and I don't want to say rules, but you know, make sure you're communicating every day. Maybe set up that you're going to FaceTime, whether it's once a day, once a week, whatever it like works for the two of you. But I would definitely say don't pass up the opportunity for a man. So that was my best case scenario for those two situations. And as I said, you can send me in your dilemmas to On The Case Pod on both TikTok and Instagram. If your dilemmas are a bit longer, we also have an email. So it's onthecasepod@gmail.com. And I can't wait to help more of you out and give you my best case scenario. Next up though, I wasn't sure if this segment was going to return. I'm sure my lovely producers didn't want it to return, but you all loved it last week. The tin whistle segment. We're bringing it back I'd like to say weekly. Not too sure if you're all going to agree. But Viv is going to give me some more songs and I'm going to improv right now on the spot for you people.
Kasey, are you ready for this week's challenge?
I'm ready. I love how I have like a full-blown podcast to talk and I'm most excited about playing this instrument that I got for €6. But anyways, right, hit me.
Okay, last week I gave you your all-time favourite Peggy Goo to play. Yes. This week we're getting my all-time favourite. Okay, Fred again.
I know it. Fred again, okay.
Love, love, love.
Okay, what song?
And I feel like a nice easy one, I'm giving you an easy one here, would be Adore You.
Okay. Which part will I go from? Okay, hang on. I'm gonna try go from I Adore You, I think. Or should I go from right? This is a hard one, babe. Actually, I'm gonna try go from a different part. That was close. That's I Adore You. That was hard, but like it was bits of it there. There was bits of it, bits and pieces.
Do you know what? God loves a trier.
Do you think?
Kasey.
Okay, first one's always gonna be the worst. Give me something better.
For this one, okay, I have a really rogue one to end on, so I'm gonna save that one.
Okay, I love a rogue one.
But this one I'm gonna give you a choice, okay?
Okay.
So we have one that I feel like is a shout out to Daniel Devlin,
Okay.
your good mate, which would be Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish.
That's a great one for the tin whistle, I feel like.
Okay.
Okay, right. Let me just try get it. No.
Maybe let's do a throwback.
Okay, I can do throwback.
Do you know the song Promiscuous?
Like as in
Promiscuous girl.
I can try. Okay. I'm losing my touch now. I've lost it, Viv.
I don't know if you had it in the first place.
I think I did. Now I'm upset, guys. My tin whistle skills are really been put to the test today. But I'm going to stick with Birds of a Feather. That was 10 out of 10 for me. I think. You don't think so? Well, guys, next week I'm actually going to let you pick the songs because Viv is giving me awful song choices. We clearly have very different music tastes. So as I have said, tin whistle requests, please send them to On The Case Pod, TikTok, Instagram, email. Send them to my house for all I care. I want this segment to stay. And if you do too, please send me the tunes. Right, lads, that is it for On The Case this week. We deep dived into school and about how I was in school. I really hope you don't have a different opinion on me after that. But as I said, I can't wait to hear what you think and your opinions on everything. Make sure to be following us on TikTok and Instagram at On The Case Pod, and you can send us in your dilemmas for next week, your tin whistle requests, and any